So, Stranded Sails, for those who don't know, I'll give context on the game. We're actually going to have this section as a separate section video as well. So anyone who wants just a review of Stranded Sails, if you're watching this video, then this is part of the Indie Credible podcast, episode 35, which is also, or maybe not available right now, as of this video being live, but it will be available very soon if you want to check that out. But anyway, Stranded Sails, to give context to people what Stranded Sails is. It is what it sells itself as, because what I feel like it sells itself as isn't what the game is. Now, what it sells itself as is a kind of, for lack of a better term, farming, simmy, survivally game where you build up a farm or a community, you grow crops, you fish, you hunt stuff. There was combat in the trailers. So these are my impressions going into it. This is what I expected from the game. You loot stuff, you go back. You have that gameplay loop where you loot stuff, you go back, you tend your farm, you go back out again. You tend your farm, everything slowly levels up. You can go further afield and do all this stuff and build up like that, build up like that, build up like that. Now, the game is like that a little bit, but not very much. Okay. Now, the story goes, you start on this ship, or you board this ship with your dad, and I think it's your dad. Captain Charles is his name. I'm pretty sure it's your dad. The ship crashes, and funny enough, you're stranded on this desert island, and you start off by doing these pretty basic fetch quests where it's like, oh, you need to go find the other crew members, you need to go find a boat, you need to go find my fishing rod because I need my fishing rod. And all funny enough, you find a fishing rod. Oh, he goes, oh, I actually can't have one now. You're gonna have this one, and things like that. So you do all that. A bit
of a jerk then.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah. Okay.
And you have to go back and you have to talk to the captain who's broke his leg or something, so he can't actually leave the ship that's kind of stuck up on the shore now. And you go back there and he's like, oh, maybe we can do this and maybe that. And then he starts going, oh, maybe I've been thinking there's this mysterious islands that people have spoke about, and maybe we're on these mysterious islands. And then you find this temple thing, and it's like, oh, there's going to be combat because there's these spirits on this temple. Now, the game kind of goes through at a good pace. It kind of goes through a nice pace. In terms of playtime, because it is a story game, this is where my concerns for the game actually come in. Now, playtime, I can't say it definitively. I would say between 10, 12 hours roughly to play through the whole game.
Okay.
Now, it kind of feels like when you land on this island and you're kind of getting the other crew members, and it's like, I made you a rowing boat, you can now go to these islands here. Go look for these crew members. You have a stamina bar at the top, so you have to like cook food, which allows you to go further afield. And carrying more food, or the better recipes you cook, give you more stamina, replen, and then means you can go further afield and you can do more in a day. So once I kind of got, I was like, okay, once I get the crew, it's gonna open up and it's be like, just do what you want. You can go where you want. And it doesn't, and it's like, oh, now go do this. And you're like, cool, once I've done this, it's gonna open up and go where I want.
Right.
And it doesn't. And the game ends up basically being, and it's gonna come across really harsh, but long story short, the game ends up being a very probably over dragged out series of fetch quests that is broken up with the use of a stamina bar. In terms of the only reason you can't just go beasties all out at once is because you need to replenish your stamina bar. Okay. So that coming across like that makes it sound like, well, why do I play this game? It was, for the most part, I did enjoy doing these quests. There are some that are completely unnecessary and they don't need to be in there. But the exploring the island, as I got into it more, and I got a sword, and then I could go off into these caves, and I can go off into, I don't want to say much more because it does end up going into, it is a story game effectively, so it goes into spoilers, but you end up finding about secrets about the island. The combat feels actually better than I expected. I didn't expect it to feel amazing at all. It doesn't feel like great. You're not going to be like, oh my god, this is the best combat I've ever played. But I was like, oh, do you know, actually, this, what I want to do is doing it. So I'm fine with that. It feels like just as soon as the game's going to open up and let you go, oh, I can do what I want, it takes back from you. And what they have is this kind of very linear 10, 12, maybe 15 hour, depending on how much you do exploration game that could have ended up being a 200-hour game. Coming from someone who's put that many hours into Stardew Valley.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it feels like it. I was kind of hoping that when I finished the game, I would unlock like a sandbox mode. I didn't.
That's what I was about to ask. I was about to ask, when you finish the game, is it then, well, here you go, here's your island.
No.
Survive and thrive.
It doesn't say that they can't do that in the future. But then I keep thinking about it, I'm like, I don't know if they can do that in the future, because the game is very much built into a story. By that I mean, Stardew Valley, you had like a shop, or you had multiple shops, and you had shops rivaling each other, so you could sell your produce.
Yeah.
There was a story going on in Stardew Valley, and just the whole kind of the weird seasonal
your
story.
Relationships going on with people
Exactly,
in Stardew
that's
Valley
going
as
well.
well. And
The relationship stuff here is tiny, like very small. The only time the relationship thing comes in is where you cook food. You cook stew for the whole camp.
yeah.
And then when you get to a certain level after cooking them stew and making them happy, then one of them goes, "Oh, yeah, I found some good stuff for your fishing rod. I've upgraded your fishing rod, or I've upgraded your axe." So you use less stamina by doing it, by using it. So it's all the ideas are there. What the game was built to be, I feel like it didn't achieve in doing it. Now, Severin D did say that his 10 or 11-year-old son played the game and like loved it and like really enjoyed playing for it. It's very charming. It's very cute. The fetch quests, even when they feel annoying, they never overstay their welcome. Like the most annoying one I found was you don't always fetch quests, and then it was like talking about a sword, and it was like, oh, there's 3 parts of this sword. You need to go find a sword, and here's a treasure map, and you need to go dig it up. And I was just like, just give me a sword. Like you're now making me do this for no reason. I've just been to these islands, and you're making me go back to these islands to add the padding in the game. But I got the quest done in 10 minutes, so it was like, it didn't overstay its welcome.
Yeah,
it's. I can't deny I enjoyed the game. I wouldn't rush out and say go play this game right now. I do feel like if it had more of a Stardew Valley or even My Time at Portia kind of openness to it, that there is a story to follow, but you're not being ushered through it at a rapid pace. Hey, there's a quest over here for you to get done, but you're more like, no, I want to go grow these crops and get this in-game currency to then go make this shelter over here to then make my community more happy and all that. Then maybe that could be that would not save the game, but that would be a bit more like something.
I think if you're selling yourself, which they are as a sandbox game.
Well, yeah,
and they do, because from the trailers I saw, I was like, oh, this is why I wanted to stay well away from it, because like, oh god, it's another Stardew Valley. Lewis would just be on this drooling for hours. I don't just leave me alone for a bit. Yeah. But that kind of then, if you go in and wanting to play that type of game, you're then going to sit back and go, hang on. Well, I wanted a straight, you're going to push me through a story.
I think that was the issue with me, I think it was a case of I was waiting for it to open up, and it never opened up. I feel like if I brought this completely blind and played it, I'd probably actually be happier with it, because I wouldn't be expecting what I was expecting.
Yeah.
So I went in there thinking like, sweet, I know I put like 200 hours plus into Stardew Valley over several platforms. Like, I cannot wait for this game. This is my new game. I'm going to be playing this till Christmas. I'm going to be plugging away at different things. Like, that's generally what I went into this game expecting. And I ended up taking out, do you know what? That was a perfectly fine 12-hour story game. I just wanted so much more from it. I'm never going to play it again. And for those kind of games, like, it's just... Yeah, I just feel like direction they took. I felt like I genuinely feel like there was a conflict between developers. I feel like they couldn't get down. I feel like one person was saying we need more open worldy sandbox stuff, and other people were saying no, we need a story. Because there's some times in there where you feel like it's getting to open up, and then it doesn't. Now I don't know if that was just inconsistent design. I don't mean again harshly, but it feels like there was different ideas at the table, and they didn't extend on any of them fully.
Right, yeah. So there wasn't a real firm view of what they wanted the game to be.
Yeah, it might
in overall sense. It's not like badly made.
No,
in any way.
No, I mean it's Lemonbomb, so it's a very small studio, and the chances are maybe they came out and said we're making a Stardew Valley style game, and maybe they didn't realise that they don't have time, they don't have production value, they don't have all that stuff. I mean, remember Stardew Valley still was made by one person. Over the course of 5 years. Let's say maybe these guys only had 2 years. Maybe they signed a deal with Merge Games, and Merge were like, no, you need to release this game in the next 6 months. Like,
how much money, on a separate note, how much money do you think the person who made Stardew Valley has spent on mental health and well-being afterwards, after 5 years of developing a game?
The guy done everything. He done sound. He done art. He done programming.
I hope he's got a damn good counsellor, because that guy must be. He must be overjoyed that it's.
You know, he's probably saying this now. He's probably sat on some beach in Miami drinking pina coladas. Thinking, those incredible shmups, eh? All you got to do is commit 5 years of your life. Never release a game again, mate.
I'll pay off some other people to do updates and make it multiplayer. I ain't doing that anymore, but I'll rake in the cash.
But no, so Stranded Sails, to wrap it up, is a perfectly fine to good game. Like, I don't want to say it's good because some people pick up and go, this isn't good. In terms of a game, I didn't come across any bugs. It was very pretty. The music was very catching. I often found myself turning the switch off and just walk around going, because it was the music from it and being like, oh, that's cool, catchy. Yeah. You get all the utensils or the tools you need very quickly. And it, as a story game, it ushers you through at a pretty nice pace. When the quests are like, oh, why have I got to do this? It's never around for too long. So all that is very beneficial to it. And maybe this is just me, but coming from it, as in approaching the game, how the trailers were selling the game, I felt like it was way too restrictive. It was a very fetch questy, and it was very much a continuous fetch quest system buffed out with stamina bar, which I'm pretty sure what 7D said themselves as well. But if you've got a kid and you want a kid to play a game that is, I mean, you don't get combat for about 5 hours in the game.
Hang on. On that, would you rather than play Yonder?
Yonder's very different. Yonder's weird. I preferred Yonder. The reason I preferred Yonder was because there was always something to do, either cats to collect, or there was quests to do, and I never felt like I had nothing to do. Even when I finished the story, which is like maybe 7-8 hours,
at the most,
I still had cats to find. I'd run along and I'd be like, "What's this?" And there's lots of little hidden secrets. Where there's like drawings on a wall, and you could. So it had all that kind of stuff. This doesn't have that, and like.
So which one would you say rather to get?
Probably Yonder.
Because Yonder isn't in-depth in its farming. It doesn't really have that whole style of it. It's very light, very breezy.
Super light. Super cute again.
Yeah. Whereas this, I think, from what I've heard, has a slightly more in-depth, though never to the point that you feel free.
Yeah. The most complex thing in this game is recipes. Right. You don't ever find recipes out. You have to work them out for yourselves.
Oh, cool.
So you have to be like, okay, so I've got a new recipe in there. I'll say there's 4 items in there. And it will keep telling you, you need to suck with this one out. You need to change this ingredient or things like that. But if you put something like fish, soup, and, I don't know, chicken into one thing, it's going to go, no, that's not a recipe. But then you put sweet corn.
Beg to differ.
Yeah, you put sweet corn, tomatoes, thyme, and beef into it. Either not beef, you know what I mean? A meat into it. It goes, oh, you made a stew. So it kind of, and then, so that was probably the most complex part, was playing around with recipes. And classically, I probably spent an hour and a half one time just playing with recipes.
Figuring out recipes. Yeah, that is you completely.
But yeah, no, so overall, it's a good game. If you're going into it looking for an in-depth My Time in Portia, Stardew Valley style farming sim, then stay away from it. You're not going to enjoy it. If you want if you're looking for one for your kid, like a 10 to 15 hour story-driven game that has always something to do in terms of what the game's telling you to do, then it's definitely worth checking out.
Cool.
That's it.